Hey, folks who dance on poles, ever thought about competing but worried about judgmental pole hobbyists? Want to enter a pole competition where it's actually run by strippers? Then you'll want to consider entering Script Down, Canada's first pole competition spearheaded by sex workers. The competition is on Friday, November 3rd at the Opera House in Toronto, and we are bringing in an internationally renowned pole artist like Jordan Kensley, Kiana Walker, Tia Jax, and Tara Meyer just to run workshops and also to judge the competition. Registration for the competition ends on July 31st, and yours truly will also be judging, so get your audition videos in and we'll see you there. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Stripped by Sia, your podcast for strippers, sex workers, and all the fancy naked people in between. I am your host, Steph Sia, aka Kimchi on stage. I am a sex worker because the show is all about sex work, and I have done a lot of things, including being a sugar baby for many, many years. I was also, am also a dancer. You can find me on stages on the Pacific Northwest part of Canada, and I'm also a digital content creator and a cam model on Streamate. And I basically started the show, especially if you're new here, if you don't know what the hell the show is about, I started the show about almost 4 years ago to destigmatize sex work, and I do that by bringing different guests on every single week to kind of share their side of the story in terms of their lived experiences, how they kind of navigate the industry, and whether they are talent, so it may be in front of the camera, independent creators, or people behind the scenes, production, nonprofit organizations, allies, and whatnot. So I kind of really do that to paint a very, very transparent and accurate depiction of what sex work is, because oftentimes if you are seeing sex workers in film or in movies or whatnot, the narrative is very, very skewed. So I am just trying my best to kind of educate people in terms of what it's really like in order to, yes, destigmatize our industry. So this week is no different than any other. I have a fantastic guest on who's kind of waiting and hanging out for right now. But I do have some people to thank first. So I do want to say hello to our lovely Patreon subscribers, people that have been there since day one. Lots of great people on the top tiers, which means you got a fan recognition shout out here live on the show. So I'm just going to go ahead and say hello to Snoo. We've got Arip Sarkar, we've got Jay Sunstern, Justin Erickson, Ted McGuire, Geyser, Selena Money, Charles McNabb. You guys are all over America, one from Germany here. Also, my fellow Canadian listeners, hello. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you are wanting to support the show financially, you can do that by becoming a Patreon, and that is on patreon.com/strippedbysia, with tiers starting just at $4 a month. From there, you can get video exclusives of the show. You can also get some bonus episodes, which I will be releasing a couple bonus episodes, which is really exciting. And of course, you can kind of get a sneak peek of what episodes are up and coming and who I'm going to be bringing on and whatnot. So it's kind of exciting. So go ahead, check it out. It's patreon.com/strippedbysia. Also wanted to say a quick hello and shout out to my network, Skyhawk After Dark TV. This is a adult industry network filled with different podcasts. We got video casts there as well, including a lot of shows that are run by a lot of the guests you might have heard on the show. A lot of us like talking a lot, so feel free to go ahead and support. Check it out if you like this show and also other like-minded shows there too. So it's Skyhawk After Dark TV. Skyhawkafterdark.tv. And last but not least, I'm going to say hello to our website maker. So strippedbysia.com was made by my friend Anthony of Fox Digital. He is a sex worker friendly website builder basically. So if you're looking for a new website to be made, or perhaps you already have one that's made and you kind of want a little bit of a revamp, feel free to check it out. Anthony is giving all of the Strip by Sia listeners 20% off. So feel free to check them out. It's foxdigital.design. And for everyone listening, hello. I feel really, really rusty. I just got married 2 days ago, so I feel like my head is spinning and I'm like kind of just like in a daze in terms of like how wonderful that day went, and I'm still kind of glowing off of that, but I also feel like I can't remember how to podcast anymore, so I'm going to try to see how today goes. I'm definitely going to be in good hands, though, because I have a wonderful guest on who is just so super smart, intellectual, and also the founder of Queer Crush, which is an online platform, a lesbian toy site displaying and highlighting a realistic lesbian porn. She's going to be talking about that. She also was the president of the Kink Education Society, the Wildcats Burlesque show back in the day, and was a former director of the Northwestern Sex Week. So I feel like this person has a lot to talk about. We also want to hear what her story is as well. So please, welcome to the show, Electra Rayne.
Hooray! Hi! Thank you so much for having me. It's awesome to be here.
I'm so excited to chat with you today, and I actually just realized I never even asked you what your preferred pronouns are.
Oh, thank you for asking. She is good with me.
Perfect. So I did kind of research a couple things that was available online. And I'm not sure if that's a good enough intro. I feel like maybe if you want to throw things back to us in terms of like how you would describe yourself in your own words and terms, that would be awesome.
Sure, yeah. My name's Electra Rayne. I'm an adult performer and producer from Chicago, now based in Las Vegas. I am a performer for like mainstream porn. I also do like independent content. I am the creator and director for queercrush.com. And I was a stripper for a very long time. I still dance occasionally, but I have some health issues, so I can't full-time anymore, which is heartbreaking. And I also work as a legal courtesan at one of the legal brothels here in Nevada.
Amazing. Doing all the things, as I know most of us sex workers do, kind of dipping our toes in a lot of things.
Right.
Which is awesome. So originally hailing from Chicago, I know that I was reading some stuff off of your bio at that point, but maybe you wanted to kind of take the lead for right now in terms of like telling the audience how you got started, how did you fall into this industry, how did you choose to get in the industry if that was a thing too?
Yeah, so I have actually known since I was like 11 that I wanted to do porn. So the whole story, here's how it happened. When I was in 5th grade, a friend and I thought it would be really, really funny to go to boobs.com. We were like, what's at boobs.com? Like we didn't know anything about like porn or anything. We're like, that's so funny. Like, what is it at boobs.com? It used to be, it's not anymore, but it used to be, it was like an affiliate directory. So it was just like links to other porn sites. My friend, what happened to be on the front page that day was hogtides.com, which was kink.com's rope bondage site. And my friend was like, oh my God, ew, gross. And I was like, oh my God, ew, gross. And came back later privately. And I was like, that looks a lot like what goes on in my head when I do like that weird wiggling thing that I'm just starting to piece together might be masturbating at like 11, so I don't totally get it. And I like kept coming back to it. And right, it's funny. And for a long time, I was like, oh my God, there must be something horribly wrong with me. Like, number one, do I have this horrible porn addiction? And number two, do I like hate women, that I love all this like bondagey stuff? And of course I didn't know, like I didn't have the language. I didn't know about the community. I didn't know about like all of the process of like negotiating a scene and safety checks and consent and aftercare. Like I didn't know any of this. Mm-hmm. And I finally one day saw one of the exit interviews where they asked the model like, what were your favorite parts? Was there anything you didn't like? Blah, blah, blah. And then there's the like 2257 record keeping compliance thing. And it says like all models are over the age of 18, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wait, these are just like paid models? But who would want to do a thing like that? Wait, I'm someone who'd want to do a thing like that. And that means there must be other people out there that are just like me. And that moment, like I remember that like specific moment was this really key thing for like accepting myself sexually, and then for like accepting myself more broadly beyond that. So it was this like really significant moment for me, and I knew I was like, I want to give back to that. I want to be a part of that. Also, I'm not going to lie, BDSM is pretty complicated and it can be pretty expensive, and you need to know what you're doing. And so it kind of seemed like a way to get paid to have all my dreams come true. And it is definitely not that simple, but I was like, yeah, like of course, let's try it. And so I applied to kink.com on my 18th birthday. I actually didn't get to shoot with them until like a year ago, but I applied every 6 months from 18th birthday until they finally had me on. Now I've done like, I don't know, 6 or 8 things for them. But it's funny because I never in a million years thought that I would be like a porn star. It was really more like a bucket list, like I want to do porn. And so I finally got hired for some like similar BDSM sites when I was 19. I did 3 scenes for them, and then I wasn't getting more work. I'm a size 8. I'm from Chicago. I already had tattoos, so most agents like didn't want to work with me or whatever. And I was in college, and I started dancing and absolutely fell in love with dancing. And I was like, cool, like that's it. I did it. Like I did porn, and it was actually because of porn how I ended up dancing. A now really good friend of mine, my boyfriend at the time went to UC Berkeley. We had gone to high school together, and then I went to Northwestern. He went to UC Berkeley. And UC Berkeley has a column for their newspaper called Sex on Tuesday. And when I was shooting like my initial early scenes when I was 19, the woman who happened to be writing it at the time, her name is Puran Mehraban. She used to go by Trixie, so the articles are published under Trixie. Was writing a column. She was a stripper and a college student, and she wrote these like fucking fantastic articles. They really hold up. And they really resonated with me, even though like I wasn't dancing, but I was a student and I did porn and whatever. So I reached out to her. I was like, hey, I love your articles. I love your work. Here's who I am. Like, it's not the same, but I think there's a lot of similarities. Totally. I'm going to be out there for work and to see my boyfriend. Could I take you to lunch or coffee and just like talk to you? And she's like, yeah, you totally. In fact, if you need a place to stay, your mate and I have a spare bedroom. So I ended up staying with her for like 2 or 3 weeks. And I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm like hot enough to be like, I'm not stripper hot. That's cool. But like, I'm not stripper hot. And she's like, shut up. Yes, you are. So she did my makeup. I literally did not recognize myself. And then I had never worn lashes. I had never worn wing eyeliner. Like I grew up really emo. So it was like lower, like waterline and then like white eyeshadow in the corner and black waterproof mascara. And like, that was kind of it. I didn't get hired. She did my makeup. I went and I auditioned at her club, Gold Club in San Francisco, which ended up being the first club I ever went to as a customer years later.
There we go.
Didn't get hired, but I did get a $10 tip during my audition. I was like, yeah, this is cool. So I went home and I auditioned at like every club until someplace would take me.
Wow.
Anyway, all that is to say, I was in school. I went to school for physics and linguistics at Northwestern. I wasn't getting more porn work. I was dancing. I was like, cool, I'm done. Like I did porn. I'm done. And then I finished college. I was still dancing, and I also had a regular job. And then in 2019, I had 3 surgeries, and I found out I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and it was this whole big thing.
Oh my god!
And I was like bedridden for a lot of the year.
Oh,
and then once I was all better, I was back at the strip club for 1 week, and then the pandemic happened.
Oh my god!
And I had accumulated all this medical debt, so
geez.
Yeah. So they closed the strip clubs, understandably.
Yeah.
And fortunately, like I had a day job that wasn't impacted, and it was like a good job. It was enough to live off of. It just wasn't enough to pay off the medical debt.
Right.
So I hopped on the OnlyFans train, just like everybody else.
Yes.
And through that, I like met a friend who connected me with her agent, who I ended up like not liking at all. But then I like bounced around between agents and settled with my agent, who I'm really happy with. So that's kind of how I ended up like back in porn. And then I moved to Vegas from Chicago in October of I quit my day job in March of 21 to go full-time in adult.
Yeah.
I moved to Vegas for my job in October of 2021. And then I started work on Queer Crush. Like I started directing June of last year, and we launched the site September of last year. So it's been about maybe 8 months now that we've been live.
Amazing. Okay. So many different directions with your story. So many different directions. So I feel like what I'm hearing is that you kind of were already like a kinky person, or was interested in kink, interested in your sexual expression
100%.
From a young age, which is great. And I feel like a lot of us were like that too. We're like, you see like a stripper on like some kind of like mainstream movie, like, I want to be her when I grow up, which is awesome. And
yeah, like if you went and told young me that within 2 weeks of each other, I would sign with a mainstream porn agent and then, as a result, end up buying my horse, I wouldn't have believed you. Like, if you told me that my adult life is just like hanging out with my horsey all day and then going home to like shoot some lesbian porn, like my life is just porn and horses, like I would not have believed you. I'd be like, that's way too cool. That's some kind of like fantasy land thing you're talking about. But like the reality is that's my life, and I'm like so thankful all the time.
I love that. I mean, from some of the bio that I read too, I guess you were also very involved. I think maybe during your time as a student with burlesque,
Yeah.
with the King Society too. So like you, right from the get-go, were already like, I'm already kind of jumping 2 feet in with this. Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know,
too.
it's interesting. I actually wrote an article for North by Northwestern, which is like a Northwestern magazine, called Getting Involved. And I'm not super proud of the article. It's one of the lowest quality pieces I've ever written, I think. The point that I was getting at is really great, but the actual writing, I think, doesn't hold up even compared to other things I wrote around that time. Because they give me like a really short deadline, and they like hard edited it in a way. And, like, but they asked me to write a piece for them after, when I was in college, I was the director for Northwestern Sex Week, which is a week every spring. I think it's happening right now, or it's happened. Programming, sponsored by college feminists, all about like healthy sexual relationships and having better sex and safety and education and like just this general like sex positivity week. Mm-hmm. So I was on the board for it, and then I was the director for a year. And as part of that, I went to sit down with the Daily Northwestern, the newspaper, which is online and also physically in print. Mm-hmm. And I went to talk to them about Sex Week. And that year I was going to be speaking on a panel of porn people about the industry.
Cool.
And they really latched on to the fact that like, wait, you're a Northwestern student and you also do porn, blah, blah, blah. Oh. So I wake up the next day, and the cover story for this physical newspaper all over campus is a picture of me in my like Northwestern Sex Week t-shirt that we took in the office, and a picture from like my modeling profile. And it's Northwestern student balances academics, porn career.
Oh my gosh.
Which I wouldn't really mind, except that they totally misquoted me in the opening line. It opens by saying, Electra Rayne doesn't want to be called a porn star. And that's so not true. What they should have said was Electra Rayne doesn't call herself a porn star. Because they go on to elaborate correctly that what I was saying was like, I've only done a handful of scenes. I'm really new, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not a porn star. Right. But like, yeah, maybe someday. And like, not that I don't want to be. Like, yeah, go ahead and call me that. Yeah. It just wasn't accurate at the time. Anyway.
Gosh.
So from that, there was sort of like a local media storm about it. And the magazine asked me to write this article.
Oh my God.
And the article I wrote was called Getting Involved, about how in high school, I was a really good student. And I did like Scholastic Bowl, Quiz Bowl, which I thought was fun. But for the most part, most like activities and clubs and things, I was so busy with school, they kind of seemed like a waste of time and like something like just to pad your college application. Mm-hmm. And then I got to college, and it was like, wait, I can be in the burlesque show? Oh, and I can help with Sex Week and then become the director? Oh, and they're starting up this new education club, and it was like suddenly, oh my God, like I like loaded myself up on extracurriculars, and I would do all this like sex education and activism work like all the time, and it was awesome. I loved it. It wasn't like, oh, I need another activity or whatever. I just like it's healthy sex and healthy sex education is so important to me. Yes. That it's very easy to get involved when it's something like that.
Oh, totally. And like, especially when you're in college too. I mean, I don't know, this doesn't go for everyone, but like my college experience was I was like sleeping with people left, right, and center. Like I was a total hoe.
Yeah, I stayed with that same boyfriend for the first 2 years of college. And then when we broke up, I was like, all right, this is my chance. And yeah, I definitely had a super slut phase, which was really fun. And then I met my now wife. So it was actually only about 8 months of my super slut phase.
That's okay.
But, it was fun.
It was definitely fun. And I feel like, people need to know, like, I don't know, your college sounds really cool. Like mine didn't have any clubs like that, or at least the ones that I didn't know about, but I was in a lot of clubs. And it's just really cool to have that accessibility, but also the education piece as well, because, I feel like a lot of, well, maybe I'm just, again, speaking on my own experience, but like, not being safe about things, not knowing a lot of things about sex and safety and just stuff like that. So I just feel like it's so great that you were already so involved at such a young age, which is just awesome.
Yeah, was really fortunate. I decided I want to go to Northwestern when I was 5, and I stuck with it. But I should say, I'm really fortunate not only that there were already all of those opportunities, like the King Club was founded by a friend of mine while we were there, but
cool.
everything else already existed. I just joined in. So I'm lucky that there were those opportunities, and I'm also lucky that like right before, maybe a year or two before everything happened with my article, was when Belle Knox was outed at school and had to leave. I think it was Duke. Had to leave after being outed. And so I'm like, oh my God, like what's going to happen? Am I going to have to leave or anything? And the school was really cool about it. I had issues from like a stalker who was not related to the school or anything. But I had no issues as far as like actually like dealing with the administration or anything like that. And
That's
really
awesome. Cool. That's awesome because like, yeah, I was going to ask like what happened after that, like what the aftermath was, because like, you know, I feel like typically speaking, a lot of people would suffer with kind of some kind of backlash, or like it would get back to your friends and family or those who were close to you. Did you have pillars of support during that time as well? And you're pretty open about things?
Yeah, I am really fortunate in that I have always been like completely out with my family and friends. My mom and my sister wear the like queer crush crops and everything. So like my whole family knows it's not a big deal. It was awkward when like everybody from high school found out. And they'd like find out, and I think this was maybe even before the articles. I think like some boy that I went to high school with must have found my videos like naturally, like through looking at bondage porn, and was like sending it around. And so like left around, people texted my boyfriend, and they're like, "Dude, like, have you heard of Electra Rayne? Like, I'm so sorry." Like as if he doesn't know. When I went out to film those scenes, they were shooting in Oakland at the time. So they put me up in like a super nice hotel room and paid me to go visit my boyfriend. Like he was there. I'd get off work and dinner and he'd come hang out in my hotel room with me. Like this was not a secret. People were like, dude, like, I'm so sorry. So that was weird. And then on campus, it was weird because I was suddenly famous, but in like a weird way. And people didn't. This was in the Yik Yak days. Like, I don't know if you remember Yik Yak.
No.
When people could just like, it was an app. Maybe it was only popular like on college campuses. But it was basically like people could yell gossip into the void, like locally. So it was kind of like a localized Twitter almost, but anonymous. So things would happen where like I'd just be like going to class in the library. And someone on Yik Yak would be like, that porn girl is in Maine right now. I'm like, yeah, I go to school here. Like, I have a class. Or like, I remember one day I was walking to Trader Joe's in just like a sweatshirt and jeans. I wore glasses at the time and my hair up in like a messy bun. And someone took a picture and put it on the Northwestern Snap story. And it just says Electra Rayne on it. As I'm like crossing the street, I don't know that someone's taking this picture. So weird shit like that started to happen. But like I always had really cool and supportive friends and family. So there weren't really any serious issues from one person who very much on purpose was trying to cause these issues.
Yeah, I was going to ask how are you dealing with that? Like, were you okay personally, emotionally during that time? Or just like kind of going with the flow and just kind of rolling with it?
For the most part, yeah. It was really scary when I had someone trying to dox me. Someone doxing me. But I actually was interning at the time on cold case investigations. I went to school to be a forensic scientist.
Oh, cool.
So this person had been like making my life miserable and terrifying phase, and I had gone to the police, and it was like a whole fucking thing, and they like didn't get it. And then they sent me an email, and it was like a really mean targeted email where they're saying all this like personal information because it was intimidation. They wanted me to think like they knew everything about me, blah, blah, blah. But I could tell from the way it was written that actually they gave me all the information they had.
Right.
And it was all things you could get from a public record search, like things about like my parents' divorce or whatever, like things that was not like, how do you know that secret? Like if you know my information, which obviously they did, they were doxing me, it is not hard to find out about like my parent, like it's public records.
Yeah.
So once that happened, I feel like I was in this like very unique position where like I am trained in detection of deception and forensic interviewing or like forensic statement analysis with my linguistics degree. So that email, which was meant to threaten me, actually just like completely removed power from the situation. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So you like got nothing else. Your stuff, you're done. And from there, that was okay. But there were a couple of really days.
Yeah, no kidding. But also really cool about what you studied in school. That's so awesome. I I studied criminology and gender studies back in the day with the hopes of becoming a lawyer, and then I got out of that really quickly. But I guess it's all kind of coming full circle now that I'm doing the show. But yeah, I mean, sure. I do want to say, it sounds like right from the get-go, you're the kind of person that knows from the get-go, like, what you want to do. Like, since 5, you knew you wanted to go to Northwestern. Since 11, you know you knew what you wanted to be in the adult industry. And does the same thing go for Queer Crush as well? Or, like, what's the story with Queer Crush? I cannot speak English today.
Great. No problem. Great question. So Queer Crush was born out of a few different things coming together. Number one, the applications opened, this was like a year and a half ago maybe, for the San Francisco Indie Porn Festival. And I was like, cool, I'm going to send something in. And I realized I didn't really have anything that I had made myself I felt deserved it. It was like, yeah, I was producing all this content for OnlyFans, etc. But it was all hyper optimized to make like as much money as possible, as fast as possible. It was just like what the fans want, like get it done, get it done, get it done. It wasn't anything that like I cared about. It wasn't like the representation that I feel the world needs or anything like that. And I wanted to change that. I wanted to start making content, like I'm inherently proud of the content. And I'm proud this year, I submitted, you can make up to 5 person submissions to the San Francisco Indie Porn Film Festival. Cool. And I submitted one video that I produced just with a good friend of mine, and then 4 of the Queer Crush scenes. And it was really hard actually sitting with my business partner and being like, which 4 scenes do we send in? But that's cool, like tangibly being able to see that process or progress. So I wanted to make something I could actually be proud of. And then, like most queer women will tell you, the lesbian porn out there absolutely sucks. Like for the vast majority of it is absolutely terrible.
Right.
And most of it is either like they want it to be like natural, authentic passion in this really like fetishizy way that is just like simply not realistic. Right. So it's a lot of like open kissing and don't you dare bring a dildo in here ever or whatever. Or then it's like the opposite and it's like a Brazzers style scene where it's like crazy guns but with ridiculous faces and expression. And might be like, here, use this strap-on 5 minutes before the scene's supposed to start. And maybe those performers have never used strap-on before. They've certainly never used that strap-on. So, and like, as anybody who watches the interviews, I will know, like, choosing a strap-on is a very, like, personal thing, both from an emotional standpoint and, like, the physical fit and being able to use it.
Yes.
I wasn't seeing, like, the original motivation was quality lesbian toy porn. Because I wasn't really seeing that. I wanted to make porn looked like that reflected the sex I'm having in personal life and like that I know my friends are having in their personal life because like let's be real, the vast majority of queer are using all kinds of toys and gear all the time.
Right.
Like I'm not saying everybody, but like super common all the time. So I'm gonna challenge that, and I want to make that my now wife could invite and like could have, who is basically she thought she was lesbian for like more than a decade, and recently has been like, okay, maybe a little homo flexibility in there, but like essentially like strong kind of as a dyke, and was like she's like I love to enjoy porn. I love the idea of a number of times we've been like, let's find something to watch together, and like. So I wanted to make something that overall I could be proud of and something that my wife and people like my wife could enjoy. And that's where Queer Crush came from.
Yeah, I mean, that's so many interesting points there. Like, I would say, Yes, there are definitely a couple different ways that lesbian porn is made. And you were talking about one, aesthetic is one thing. Where toys don't exist, it's very just about like bodies, scissoring, what people think lesbian porn is. And also, you said like more gonzo style scenes too. And I feel like the thing that these two critiques that you have that have in common. That have in common. I can't even speak English today. I really can't speak English. Brain's not functioning. But the common theme is what I'm hearing is that lesbian porn is kind of made for the male gaze. Yes. Would you agree?
Yep. It's somebody else's idea, typically men's idea of what lesbian porn does and should look like, which is why I'm really proud that we have an entirely sapphic staff, like literally 100%, like not just the performers, but the camera, the editing, uploads. It's queer women, or our fill-in camera woman, or our fill-in camera person is a sapphic non-binary person. So it's all like, it is all people who the terms lesbian and sapphic can apply to, making it from start to finish. And it's, I wanted it to be real. I wanted it to be diverse, and I wanted more people to be able to see themselves reflected in it, right? Like people who normally don't see, who are like, porn doesn't look like me. Porn doesn't look like the set I have. I wanted to challenge that. So we're trans inclusive. We are size inclusive. We strive to cast a diverse group of performers. There's like race or appearance or size, like I said. And the performers pick their own partners. They can work with anybody they want. Awesome. They choose their own wardrobe, their own makeup. Wearing no makeup is a total valid option. Like absolutely any level of makeup, whatever feels good to them. They get to choose everything that they've never seen. I don't say, hey, today's going to be a strap-on day or anything at all. You do whatever you want to do in your scene. You can go through my toy box. I have UV sterilizers. You can bring your own things. You could say, fuck it. Like whatever you want to do in your scene. And then really important. I have a speech to give right when the performers are there and they're starting to get about how the point of the website is like, it's not porny. You just be yourself. You don't have to do anything you don't like just because it looks good on camera. No fake orgasms, no uncomfortable positions. Also, importantly, they can be themselves. They can check in on camera, use lube on camera. We got sponsored by Sliquid, so we could just show the bottles, which is cool because I've used them since I was 17. Nice. So when I reached out, I was like, hi, here's who I am. Here's what I want to do. It was really validating to have this company be like, yep, here's as much lube as you need for your thing.
Love it.
And then they can talk to each other about unrelated topics. They can laugh. We leave in bloopers and chit chat and things like that. The only things we cut out are anytime someone says like, I need to stop, I need a break, which is actually pretty uncommon. Or if something happens where a performer's like, cut that out. And actually the only example I can think of that is we were shooting a real couple, like they lived together and everything. And one of them like accidentally moaned her partner's real name. So obviously that needed to be cut out. But aside from like literally things like that, like everything is a realistic, like start to finish.
So it's sounding like Queer Crush is pretty inclusive. And there's a lot of flexibility in terms of how, people that we want to shoot with, how it's shot, and whatnot. So from what I'm gathering, there's like not like a lot of script writing or like prepping the scenes, or is there? And maybe I'm getting it wrong, or tell us about that.
Sure. There's no script at all, not even a little bit. Absolutely no script. There is prep in the sense that like, so anytime I book a performer, or even if they just express like serious interest, I have them fill out a Google form. And the Google form does a few different things. Number one, it captures like their social media handles and email and stuff like that, so that when my friend who does our social media is making posts, it's very easy for her to just go in and grab everybody's tags and make sure like I got everybody's actual real official accounts. But that form also asks things like, what are your limits? What are there any, do you have a favorite toy? Are there toys you don't like? Is there anything you're specifically looking to do in the scene? I also ask, we do pre-scene interviews, and it's really like, usually it's just like have you two worked together before or met before? What kinds of toys do you both like? And one question I really love to ask is, how and when did you realize you're queer? Now, obviously, I am not just going to spring that on someone on camera. That is a big question that maybe not everybody wants to talk about.
Right.
So in the Google form, it also asks, like, are you comfortable discussing this on camera? Totally fine if not. And the vast majority of people do. But if they don't, then I know, like, don't even bring that question up when we do the interview. So when I get the surveys back, I will take, typically, people have already chosen their partners. They're like, I want to work with this person, and they both put in their surveys. So then I take the surveys for the 2 or sometimes 3 performers, and I put them in a spreadsheet, and I block out anything that's like personal information,
right,
or like the website bio is not important for them. But the things that are like limits and what do I want to do in the scene and my feelings on toys and blah, blah, blah. And then I send that spreadsheet with the 2 of them to the performers when they get the call info. So that way they can see, like, what is the other person interested in? What are they not interested in? And I always make a group chat with me and with them. And I also encourage that. I tell them, you guys can do as much or as little planning in advance as you want. If you want to sit down, the 2 of you, and talk about, we're going to do this, that, and the other thing, totally great. Love it. If you want to not discuss it in advance at all and just know, like, hey, we're going to fuck and we'll see what happens, that is also totally fine. However you want to do it is good with me. So there's not a ton of pre-scene planning beyond the regular, like, actually getting people booked and scheduled.
That's really cool. And I mean, it sounds like, and you mentioned, like, we shot, like, a real couple and stuff, too. So is this open to not just sex workers, but also people that, like, are very sexual or whoever wants to shoot, like, their own porn kind of thing? Like, that is available to them?
Yeah, great question. Originally, it was the only requirements were you have to self-identify as a queer woman or sapphic non-binary person. And, like, I'm not going to police that. If you feel it's appropriate for you to be shooting for the site and you're comfortable working for a site that has, like, lesbian in the branding or whatever, great. You have to be willing to do industry standard STI testing and come to Las Vegas. And you have to want to do the site. And originally, those were my only qualifications. So somebody who had never done adult content before could do it. But I realized, number one, we started getting, like, a lot of applications from people who have never, ever, ever, ever made any kind of adult content. Like, they don't have an OnlyFans. They don't anything at all. And I realized, number one, it's really hard to get those people scheduled, especially because usually they're just like, I'll do it with anyone. And then it's really hard to get them partnered up and things like that. That's challenging. But also, as I'm sure you're very aware, there are huge risks that come with sex work in general and that come with any form of, like, permanent sex work, right? Like, if you post nudes on the internet, they are possibly there forever. But if you try to delete them, they are possibly there forever. So I did recently add in a caveat that you have to already be, like, face out, naked on the internet somewhere. It could be I have an OnlyFans and I only post solo stuff and I've never done a sex video with somebody else. Like, that's totally fine. Or it could even be like, well, I have a FetLife and I post explicit content on FetLife for fun, but I've never, like, made an OnlyFans or anything. That would be fine too. But you have to, I don't want to be the reason that someone takes that first step, especially because we are a content trade website. So we do, like, some expense reimbursement and then shared content, but I don't have $1,200 to offer every single performer. Hopefully someday that would be great. But I don't have that right now. And so I especially don't want to be, and I'm very upfront about it. It says it on the Model for Us page on the website. It's not secret. But still, I still get people that are like, that's okay. Like, I love what you're doing. And as much as I appreciate it, I don't want to be the reason that someone takes that step.
No, totally. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, that sounds like there might be some complications with that. Like, and of course, if some rando person or civilian person, like, I want to shoot with that person, like, how would you even facilitate that? Because I would feel like that would be really, really difficult to do.
Right. Really difficult. And there is some level of risk involved in the fact that, like, because it's shared content, the performers have each other's IDs as well, too. So I also want to be really cognizant of, like, this is not some scam for someone to be like, yeah, I want to shoot with so-and-so, but it's, like, actually an excuse to, like, get so-and-so's info and docs and whatever. And obviously the performers always approve their partners. So if someone reaches out to me and is like, The number one request, because sometimes like when people don't have a partner in mind, I think they just go through like the models on the website. And so the number one request I get is, I'd really love to shoot with Demi Morgan. And like, totally get it. Demi Morgan is very hot. But I would never just like schedule, even if I knew she was available, I would never just like schedule Demi Morgan and random person who applied without being like, hey, Demi, this person requested you. Would you like to work with them? Like, obviously it's got to come from both sides.
Totally. So I guess that, because you were saying like both performers obviously will have to fill in their own form if they want to shoot with Queer Crush, just to also help with the facilitation of trying to coordinate schedules and try to get people together, because I'm sure that isn't easy either.
It is hard. And we do get a lot of cancellations too. I mean, anybody in porn can tell you that cancellations are abundant no matter what. And then when you add that it's content trade on top of it, it's hard. Some people don't really take it seriously and don't understand that, like, when you... It's not as simple as just like, oh, two performers getting together and doing whatever. Like, because, you know, I have a camera woman who's coming over and we shoot out of my guest room. So that means like my wife, who has like a normal people, non-sex work job, can't have any business calls during the time and has to like work around the scheduling. And like, it's just like, it's a lot to get it all set up and people don't always realize that. And so I think there's some level of sometimes people don't realize and they don't take it super seriously. And then also, if last minute paid work pops up, I'm certainly not going to fault anybody for being like, hey, I'm so sorry, but like my agent just asked me to fill in on this $100 shoot. So I got to go do that. Like, I totally get it. But it is certainly tricky. In a perfect world these days, now that we have like a decent content buffer, we would only be shooting 3 days out of a month and we'd do 2 scenes each of those days. So we'd be producing 6 scenes. We release, we release 1 new pairing weekly, but it's the interview comes out on Monday and the sex scene comes out on Friday. So there are like 2 uploads, but we shoot like each shoot 1 release per week. So we would be shooting 6 per month and releasing 4 per month. So we'd be like building up the content buffer and that would be great. But cancellations and reschedules and things are so abundant that like, that's just not feasible. So really what happens is I book like 10 or more per month in hopes that we're shooting like at least 6 of them.
Yeah, I hear you. Like, I mean, podcasting a little bit different, but still comes with scheduling and trying to coordinate people's availabilities. And sometimes, yes, I have also had the occasional no-show person and be like, hey, like, are you showing up? Did you forget? Or again, not taking it seriously when I'm working with other like PR people and whatnot. So I completely understand where you're coming from, but also can be like super infuriating as well, especially when you do have last minute cancellations. But it is what it is.
Yeah,
that can be really frustrating. I also wanted to ask too, in terms of like verification process, is there a certain process that you follow as well to ensure that these people are who they say they are, that they're real, or at least maybe this might be more so akin to when you were still shooting like real quote unquote people before, or?
Yeah, I mean, the vast majority of people reach out are like, they message me from their existing work Twitter that's got 60 or more thousand followers and is very easy to verify through their website that like, yes, that's for realsies, their Twitter and things like that. But when it's someone who's like just applying through the website, I do ask both for like a specific type of selfie, like clearly they had to take it just for me. And then also I ask, for a link to whatever their adult platform that they're already using is. And then I message them on there and confirm, like, you are the person that I have been emailing with, etc.
Very cool. And it sounds like you're getting a lot of submissions. I mean, that's really great, especially since you've just been around.
We do actually.
Yeah,
it has been really exciting. I did not expect the amount of interest from performers that we've had thus far, which has been really exciting and like feels really good. And just like is helpful as well, right? Because if I do repeat performers sometimes, but still I need at least 2 people per week. It helps to have a big pool to draw from.
For sure. And also congratulations though, that's huge. It's really great, especially since
Thank you.
At the time of recording you've only been out for about 8 months or so, which is amazing.
That's correct.
So good. Are there any like struggles that you are finding as the founder of this platform in terms of like, potentially like finding funding for this? I know it's a lot of content trade for right now, but are there like further or future goals that you might have to like maybe pay the models at some point?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, our goal is to pretty soon, hopefully, be offering everybody $400 plus content, and then beyond that, full rate. Well, actually, it would be optional. Like, so either you can have a full rate or you can do the 400 plus content, whichever you prefer. Because I know for some people are going to be like, I can make way more than $1,000 selling one video, like way more than that if they've got like a big OnlyFans. And some people are going to be like, no, like I'd never make $1,000 off of one video. Please give me $1,000. So
That's cool.
the goal to get there, the goal is to get there. But I actually started working at the ranch largely in part to fund the website. So the funding literally comes from like me fucking guys to legally to get the money to support my little gay art project, which I think is like pretty cool actually.
That is really cool.
And I enjoy it, and I do like ranch a lot, so it's worked out. But as far as challenges go, our biggest challenge is just getting the word out, because a lot of our audience isn't the typical porn audience. I mean, I did make the site very specifically to like if you're a guy who likes lesbian porn generally, you probably will still like our site. Maybe not every single update, but the vast majority of them I think you will still like. But we do a lot of TikTok advertising because there's such a strong like lesbian and queer community on TikTok.
Yes.
And as a result, over 75% of our subscribers are women, which is like super awesome.
Amazing.
I love that. I was hoping that would happen eventually, but I didn't think it would happen right away. So that's awesome. Pretty cool. But just like between how restrictive TikTok is and how restrictive all kinds of things are, our number one biggest challenge is just getting the word out. In fact, I wanted to have a vendor booth at the Dinah Shore weekend in September, which for those who may not know is this like huge gay lesbian pool party in Palm Beach that's been going on since the 80s. It's like the biggest lesbian event possible in the world. Like it's on the L Word. Like that's how big of a deal it was.
Gotcha.
Like it was in the original L Word.
Amazing.
And I really wanted to have a booth there. It was going to be so good for us. And I was already in the process of having special merch made. And the organizer told me that she thinks her bank would shut her down if she were to have an adult vendor on site, even though it's all 21 and up already. It's all ID check 21 and up. And we don't have to show nudity.
No.
Like we could still be there and talk about it and have like I thought I had one with me, but I don't. Like our promotional flyer it has like two couples on it, but they're not like, you could post those pictures on Instagram. And we have merch, but like our merch is just like a bunch of turquoise shit that says Queer Crush. Like this is a drawstring bit. This one has obviously been thrown around a lot. But like we could do it without being explicit. We are an adult company, and she was understandably concerned about her bank. Like I'm certainly not trying to knock her at all here. No. I just am sad.
I am sad.
That's the reality of the situation, and not,
Dang it, that makes me so, that is such a bummer, but hopefully the other opportunities will arise.
Hopefully, I mean, and also FSC was just down in Washington lobbying to end banking discrimination against sex workers. So, here's hoping that leads to some policy change. And the organizer did tell me, she's like, if there's policy change or whatever, there's banking protections, then let me know, because I would love to have you here. So fingers crossed that all works out. And then next year we'll be at the Dinah Shore weekend.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And hopefully, I mean, being on here, which is another reason I wanted to bring you on, is to help to get the word out as well. And especially if you are in the Las Vegas area or within driving distance, like I just feel like this is such a really cool idea and a really great way to get content made. But also, again, having something that's realistic out there and representative, I think is just so, so, so important. So, yay.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
thank you.
The last kind of question I'm curious too, because I'm sure I'm hoping that there'll be a lot of listeners out there that will want to subscribe. But can you tell us about what the prices are, or like how that would work and how that is structured?
Yeah. So the full price is $24.99 a month. There are deals if you sign up for like 3 months or 6 months or a year at a time. And take like all the big credit cards and things like that. Right. You also can buy or even rent individual scenes. And I'm not going to lie, I don't remember the specific price.
It's all good.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm actually checking right now for those
Perfect.
prices.
That's actually a good break.
And it's for the renting prices.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, but it's not showing me because I'm logged in. Oh, here we go. So a full video is $14.99 to just stream it, or $18.99 to download it, or for just $9.99 you can have 48 hours of rental access to it.
Cool.
Is the individual prices. $24.99 is the monthly subscription price, so it's cheaper than 2 videos, and you get 4 new videos per month plus 4 new shoots, which again, each shoot is a Monday release of the interview and then Friday sex scene. But I will let you in on a spoiler. I haven't mentioned this or posted it anywhere yet, but we're going to be doing a Pride sale for June, and the Pride sale is going to be $19.99 for life sign up. So it's not just your month. It's actually it's like 20% off or something.
That's awesome.
$19.99 divided by $24.99.
Should be 20% off.
I don't remember the math on it, but
I'm
doing
it.
So a permanent 20% off if you sign up in June for our Pride sale, which I'm assuming this will probably come out in June, right?
Yes, it is. It is definitely coming out in June. Yeah. So it's perfect. Wow, that's awesome.
Great. So to the audience, if you sign up right now at the time of release, you can get 20% off for life.
Awesome. Is there a specific promo code, or is it already just publicly available on the website?
It will be publicly available.
Awesome. That's super cool. I love hearing that, and that's a really great option for people to come in. That's basically almost the price of one of those the rentals, basically. So a huge deal. That link will be in the show notes below for anyone who's curious. So be sure to peep them out. Subscribe for your crush. Check it out. Do all the things.
Right.
If this is what
and actually, if you're listening to this and it's after June, so the sale has ended, we always have a promo where if you sign up for the email list about sales and new releases and things, you get 25% off the first month. So it's like $18.75 or something for the first month. And you can get that either if you go to the website, there's a banner at the top, or you can just go to qcemails.com and put your email in there.
There we go. Again, all in the show notes below, so be sure to check that out. We'd love for Career Coach to get more subscribers on there as well. And check it out. Something different. Maybe it's something that you'll really enjoy. But just have an open mind. And yeah, I'm also going to check it out as well. So very exciting. But Electra, there are a couple questions that did come in from the audience as well. So maybe it's a time to kind of go through those. So the first question is, what are some overrated versus underrated sex positions in porn?
Great question. Number one, the absolute worst sex position is reverse cowgirl, hands down. Like, hands down, reverse cowgirl is the worst. And porn loves reverse cowgirl because it's such a good view for the camera, but it is like the worst sex position. Also, it breaks my heart, but the bisexual stack, which is where like, typically it's done with 2 guys and a girl, but you can do it with a bunch of different configurations. One person is sitting on the couch and they are penetrating another person who is sitting on top of them, and then also penetrating another person that's sitting on top of them. So typically it would be like a dude with his dick in the next guy's butt, and then that guy's dick is in a girl. But it doesn't have to be like that. It just, you know, there's different ways to put pistons in holes.
Yes.
That position, it's such a cool idea that like, oh, everybody's getting fucked and fucking or whatever.
I love that.
It sucks. It's super uncomfortable. It's super overrated. It's like a lot of balancing. It doesn't really feel good for anybody. I wish, but yeah.
It sounds like a human kebab. Kind of,
yeah. It's like a chain, like a vertical stack. And it's challenging and it's not very fun.
Okay, so those are overrated, but what about underrated?
Yes. I think spoon sex, and that's something that like porn has actually helped me appreciate more. I was always kind of a fan, and then there's a couple of people that do shoot a lot of the spoon position, and I'm like, oh, actually, more of that one.
And very natural too, I find, personally for me.
Yes. Totally.
Love it. We do have one more question as well, which I think is a really, really great question. Save the best for last. This person, also from Twitter, writes in, how does she facilitate consent on set?
This is such a good question. I'm really happy we're talking about it. I touched on part of this already with the surveys where we're getting like limits on everything in advance and setting it to the performers. So, excuse me, right from the get-go, they're already seeing like, okay, here's my scene partner's interests and here's the things that they don't want to do. Also, the fact that they're choosing their own partners helps a little bit. Just the fact that like, you know who you're working with. And often what that means is we're shooting real couples or real friends or things like that have an established relationship. But then, even on top of the surveys, I always ask the performers to check over limits in front of me and my camera woman, Dahlia Von Knight, which I should have said her name earlier. Shout out to Dahlia Von Knight. She is my producer. She does all the like filming and editing, and I couldn't do what I do without her. She is incredible. She's also a really good performer, and she is like so important to all of the work that I do all the time. I don't know what I'd do without her. But so we have them do test exchange and limits in front of us, so that way we're also hearing the limits and anything that they are or aren't comfortable with. And that way, thankfully, this hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, not
but that way, if there were to be a situation where somebody in the scene started pushing it too far or did something that was against the other performer's wishes, we also know that so that we could jump in right away and be like, hey, we need to stop and either fix the miscommunication or end the scene or like figure out what's going on.
Right. That's really great. I feel like you.
And also, one thing that I think helps too is. Thank you. I do. We also, and I say this in my speech, things don't need to be like perfect in the scenes. So you can say, I don't really like that. Or you can say, I'm bored, let's switch to the next position. Which I think helps too when there's those situations where like you're on camera and something's about to happen or is happening that you don't really like, but it's not like, this is so upsetting, I need to stop right now. It's not like I feel violated. It's just like, oh, this sucks, I really don't like it. Yeah. But or when all the time you're on set and the camera's rolling and usually some dude is like, oh, are you about to come? Mm-hmm. No, but I'm not going to say that now with the camera rolling, right? Totally. So I always tell them, please, like, you can say, no. You can say, this isn't working for me. You can say, let's move on. You can say, I don't like that. And I think that helps too, just like being able to vocalize your actual wants and needs in the middle of a scene.
I love that.
Honestly, just helps facilitate consent very well because you don't have to worry about like waiting until the line is crossed to get feedback from someone.
Oh gosh, Electra, like it sounds like you thought of everything to make sure that people are feeling safe. People are feeling like, that they are looked after, and that's not something you hear about all the time. So I applaud you for that. That's amazing. I mean,
thank you. One of my proudest things with the website is we have an exit survey. Everybody is optional and completely anonymous. I have no idea who sends in which answer, and I only check them like every 3 or 4 scenes too. So I can't tell like, oh, well, I know who wrote that because we shot them today. Like, I only check it every few scenes so it stays anonymous. And I am proud to say that we have had 100% positive feedback. The only like suggestions for improvement we got once was like, hey, you should add this question to the interview. And we're like, that's so smart. So we added the question to the interview.
Nice.
Otherwise, everybody's like, we love it, keep doing what you're doing. And that is like my proudest achievement, I think.
I love that. You've thought of everything. And it's just, we need more companies out there like this that's practicing this because, you know, being in this industry, whatever part of the industry you're in, whether it's porn, whether it's like camming, whatever it is that you do, it is a really intimate industry to be in. And personally, I just think we are very, very vulnerable. The work is vulnerable as well. So as much as we can keep our community safe and sound and just comfortable, I think like what you're doing is an amazing job. So applauding you for that.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. But
thanks.
Before we let you go, where can we all find you?
Sure. So my website is chicagoslut.com. It's easy to remember. It's easy to spell.
I love that.
And that'll have links to all of my, every platform, everything. Mm-hmm. And then you can find Queer Crush at queercrush.com.
Great. And all those links will be available in the show notes below if you haven't clicked on them already. But Electra, this was such a fun conversation. I'm so happy to learn about Clear Crush, and I'm hoping that other people too will also be equally excited to learn about it as well, and clicking on those links to subscribe. For everyone else that's listening, it's new episodes every single Sunday on all major podcast platforms. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple, feel free to rate 5 stars if you like the content, as well as write a review too, because that really helps people access the show, find out about it. It really kind of gets the word out as well. So all that stuff is really helpful. Again, if you want to try to support the show financially, right now it's going to website expenses. I'm always trying to be transparent about where those funds are going. It's patreon.com/strippedbysia. And if you want to get in touch with myself, I'm easily found on Twitter, on Instagram at strippedbysia. And if you want to pitch yourself to be on the show, it's strippedbysia.com. There's a lovely little form there you can fill out, and I kind of review everyone that wants to be on the show. Not always guaranteed though, because I want to make sure we're all a right fit, but I'm more than happy to kind of work with people to develop episodes that they think might be a great topic. So again, new episodes every single Sunday, dropping at midnight. But for now, that's bye for now, Electra. It was such a great conversation, and to have you on the show today. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you.
You're listening to Stripped by Sia, hosted, produced, and edited by Steph Sia. Music by Ted D. Graphic design by Maria Bellandirama, and photography by Ian Dabrin.
Are you a sex worker looking to build a new website or a website redesign? Then you'll want to consider Fox Digital. They did a fantastic job designing my website, Stripped by Sia. If you want your website done, mention that you're a listener of the show at foxdigital.design for 20% off. Tell them I sent ya.